Hi, I'm Dali from Dali Arts, and today I'd like to share this beautiful glass plate project. Loads of you have asked me, will you do a video? So I thought today, let's do a video. So this is one of the substrates, or one of the glass plates that we hold here at Dali Arts. So these are available on our website. And I love this shape because it's unusual. It's a very large piece. I've used here the Stamperia rice papers. And today I'll be showing you how to actually apply a rice paper to a glass plate. So here, as you can see, the composition is all about the poinsettias. We've used the beiges and the red to blend all of that in with some gilding flakes. So let's get started. So first thing is, I would say, is choose your rice paper and your plate. Because that's very important. So I've actually chosen this beautiful kitten from the Pink Christmas collection. This is an A4 Stamperia rice paper, absolutely beautiful quality and absolutely beautiful for a Christmas occasion. We do have lots of rice papers, too many I have to add. So please do have a look round, but the best thing to do is first find your rice paper and your plate, and then it's about making sure your plate is clean, because once you've adhered the rice paper you can't take those marks off. So the best way to clean it is to turn it over and actually clean the reverse. Now when you work on glass, it's extremely important that you're always working on the reverse, because this is actually how the design will show through to the actual top layer. So it's not applying it to the top layer but the underneath. And then it's very important that you actually then work out roughly where you want your rice paper to be. So in this case I've chosen obviously the little kitten. I'm going to turn it around so it's easier for me to see. And as this is a triangular shaped plate, I'm going to try and put this little kitten in the middle. So now with rice paper, the best thing to do is not to actually cut it. It is actually to use a wet brush and to actually tear. Now I'm going to show you that technique. So first, get your plate, clean the reverse, try not to put all your finger marks on it like I do, and then put that aside. Once you've done that, then get some clean water and a brush. And what we're going to do now is this is how you actually tear rice paper if you're not cutting it. So just take some clean water, a little bit of water. The Stamperia rice paper is very, very tough. And what I'm going to do is I've decided that I would like to take the middle image of this. So just go around it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's just about bringing all of those elements. So let's just go through this and just keep going. There we go. So all I'm doing is I'm just going through the edges. I want to keep the edge of this paper, so this is why I want to be more careful than I would be usually, because I'm going to use that to actually frame the paper. Now, once you've done that, you start to tear away. Now, you be gentle at first, because you just want to see if there's a fibre. There was a fibre there, so I had to be a little bit more gentle. What I mean by that is each of the rice papers have fibres in them, which is what gives them that toughened effect and that beautiful finish. Whereas with a napkin, so if you have a napkin, it's much thinner and you wouldn't be able to do the same process. You should end up tearing it. So this is very, very forgiving. This can be put onto fabric, this can be put onto glass, metal, MDF, picture frames, you name it. An old pair of jeans. So, you can transform shoes with this. So there's just so many techniques. And I'm going to talk through the right decoupage medium you have to use. So all I'm doing here is just gently holding with one finger, pulling with my thumb. And if you find that you're having difficulty, there's either a fibre there or it's not wet enough. So just go back in with your brush, with your wet brush, and just pull again. So just be careful. I want to keep that border, so I have to keep going back into it, but I also want to keep the design that I'm working around. So this is absolutely a beautiful one, and we have lots of different designs, like I've mentioned, lots of different colours to work with. So now when you're doing this, there we go. So I've got most of that now. So just coming to the top bit. Now you might have found that if it has dried out or anything, just go back in again at this point, because obviously you're taking your time to open it. So now we've got the centerpiece. There we go. And that's absolutely perfectly done. So we've got that piece. Please keep the other piece. I'm just going to put that aside because we do need that as well. Now, when you're looking at this, you now need to know where to position it. So as I mentioned, I'm going to sort of position it here because I absolutely love it. Now, one of the things that you need to know also is that when you choose any rice paper, it doesn't matter which rice paper you choose, you should really find 3 colours that you want to work with. So for example, I've got a collection here of some of the Stamperia paints. So I could go for maybe these 2 plus a beige. That could be something as a combination. So you can see that all of those really match. These are the beautiful Allegro matte finish paints. They're very nice with the rice papers. They've been designed to work with these rice papers as well. So they're absolutely beautiful. So you've got those. Then you might say, well, actually, I want to introduce a little bit of a green pop in there with some of the other green leaves. So you could bring a green into it. So, you know, it's really up to yourself of how you want this to look. Now, one of the things I like to do is to make sure that I actually do get a pop on my design, is actually go back into it and actually take a paintbrush, a very fine liner, a really, really fine liner, and go back and try and pull out some of that detail. I just use a craft mat and I just let me just move this out of the way so we can have a look at what I'm trying to do. Right, is just take a little bit of that and then start to build that back into your design, because what this will give is another 3D to your design. So just to add a little bit of detail really to the design. It's just really just lifting it. That's all it's doing. So adding a little bit of highlights to some of your design. And you don't need a lot, you just need just a little bit, but it will bring it to life. And you have to do this before you actually adhere it. The reason being is that if you don't, you won't be able to do it afterwards because it will be stuck onto the glass. So just taking little strokes here just to bring all of this in together. There we go. So you can see it's already starting to sort of pop a little bit more than it would do if I just left it. So not a lot, I don't need to do it everywhere. It's just more to bring it, just a little areas to bring them to a little bit more life. I've just added a little bit more to it. So you can see probably, even with a very tiny bit of detail, that I've added detail onto this side, whereas I haven't onto this side. And if I go in and I start to add a little bit more detail onto this side, and it is just gentle, little bit of paint, it's picking it up, you don't need a lot. And this is the beauty of all of these products, is you don't need a lot of anything. And then we can go in and we're just picking that up. And we can use this on our tray plate to add to that. So there we go. So that's where I would start in terms of bringing that to life. Let me just dry that. And then what I want to do is I want to add a little bit more pink into this as well. So just take the lid off this one. I think this is a new one. I've got one open here as well. I'll try a little bit of this one. And so these are just colours I'm going to use to blend all of this together. These go so far. And again, you know, like I just said, just blend those up. And it is just adding a little bit of detail to all of your all the little areas, just adding a little bit more to it, so you can see. And this will give it a more of a, rather than a stuck-on piece of rice paper, this will give you a little bit more of an effect. And again, I just love this technique, because I think it really does add to what you're trying to achieve. And again, you could do this on a canvas, you could do this on really anything that you wanted to. There we go. And then I'll probably take a lighter shade and just, again, make some of those little highlights and just make it pop. There we go. So you don't need a lot, so just take that and then again, go back in again and just take a few, so you can see, look, the little roses are now coming to a little bit more life. Just bring all of that in. You know, maybe you just want a little bit on the nose, this flower up here, this rose up here, and again you can see, you know, just by adding a little bit of shading, you're already starting to see this come to life on its own. So just keep doing that, and obviously take your time and build on that design as much as you want, really. And that's all it's about. Just taking little bits everywhere and just building that up and adding a little bit of highlight. So let's bring this little rose here a little bit more life into it. So there we go. So I think I'm reasonably happy with that. So, you know, if you wanted to add a little bit more detail at the cut, just a little bit, then you can do that as well. And you can even introduce colour if you wanted to, just to pick out little bits on the border, or if you just wanted to do a few little bits just to build and get all, and make your own touches on it, and just bring that in. Okay, so now what I would suggest is we just give that a very quick dry, just so that the paint dries. I don't want it smudging. There we go. So you don't need to dry it a lot because it's matte paint. I'm actually going to just put a little bit on the bow, actually, on the middle there, because I thought that would be nice. A little bit there, just to bring that to life a little bit. Right, so let's stop playing, and so that's that. So once we've done that bit, now we go back to our plate. Just take your plate, make sure it's nice and clean, like I mentioned. I just take a kitchen roll and I just do that. And just move this out of the way. Just take that. I have got a bit of a cold, unfortunately. Whoops, taking walkies here. And then get yourself a brush, and what we now need, and this is extremely important, we actually need a decoupage medium. This is the ceramic decoupage medium. Now this is extremely important because this is what will help you adhere the paper. A lot of customers ask me, oh, but the paper didn't stick very well, or it didn't do what I thought it was going to do. Now, you do need this because this is what will adhere. This is great for candles as well. So what we're going to do is we will take this as it is, open it, and we will then apply it straight on to our plate where we want our design. So this is where the design comes in. Remember, we're working from upside down. So you're going to be facing the paper. The white side is going to be, the non-design is going to be towards you. So that's very important. So I roughly know where it's going. Now it doesn't matter if you put the ceramic medium on the outside that area, because it's a transparent, it will dry transparent, but I try to keep as much as I can in the area. So all we're doing is just a thin coat so that the rice paper can adhere to that. So that's all we need to do. Now, a lot of you ask me, oh, do I put my paper down, then do I do it? No, first is the medium. This goes for any project you do on any surface. Always, we have three mediums. We have a textile, we have a ceramic, and we have a matte for canvases, MDF. So there we go. So all we're doing now, I'm roughly positioning it there. So there we go. And just use your fingers and just rub that down. Now the best thing to do now is to come through the middle and start to take that over to the sides. Now this will help take out any air bubbles that you might have. And if you have, don't worry about it. It adds all to the texture. You have got fibres in there. Now if you're going to try and lift it, it isn't going to lift. So that's something you have to be aware of. Once you've positioned it, if you find you've left a little bit on the edges, then just go back in. That you need to put it back on. You can easily see it because it's translucent and the paper starts to go like a translucent finish. So now this is really nice to do because it's really easy And again, you can do this on vases, you can do this on wine bottles. There's just so many things that you can do it on. And I absolutely love this technique. And you know, all the products have been specially made for rice papers to work on all surfaces. So here we go. So all we're doing now is taking a little bit of this and then just putting that on. And it's important that you do this and make sure you've done it to the edges. If you feel you need more, put more on. It's better to have more than less. And all I'm doing is just rubbing that on. If you do feel you need more, please put more on. And then just put a really good coat. I mean, we're going to add other products over the top of this, but this is really the seal. And this is a glue and varnishing one. So let's make sure we've glued and varnished, because the last thing you want is your plate to come off. A lot of you also ask, can you wash this? Now, if you have a heat resistant plate and you're going to put this in an oven and set it, yes, you can. If you don't have that as an option, then we do the wash it from Stamperia, which you can use as well. So that's it. So that's all we need to do. Make sure you wash your brush, just in lukewarm water or cold water, and that's that bit. Now the next thing we need to do is just dry that. And very quickly you can dry that, because it dries reasonably quickly. And now you'll see that the little kitten is going to be on the other side. Now it is tempting always to keep wanting to look, which is fine. So it doesn't take too long, but you'll know. And it'll be tacky a little bit, so don't worry, and you'll have some fibres. You'll see all the beautiful fibres. There we go. So that should be okay, that should be fine. So let's have a look at the little kitten, see if she's okay. So there's the little kitten on the front. And so that looks absolutely beautiful. So you've got the little kitten and she's absolutely just sitting there, and now we have to start to make her pop even further. Now one of the ways to make designs pop further is by putting a lighter shade of paint on the back. So in this case I'm going to use the beige. I'm just going to use that to add a bit of colour on the back. Now you don't need a lot, it's just to make this design pop. And what I'll do is I'll show you on half of it and show you exactly, in fact I'll lift some from here as well. If I just go in and I show you on half, put some more down there, and then show you what I mean by that, you'll quickly see exactly what I'm talking about. Let's have a look. I mean, obviously you can go over in two coats, but you'll start to see. Now I'm hoping that you can see the difference. So you can see here where I've actually gone in, it's a little bit more beige and dark and not as translucent, and it's making those colours pop a little bit more. So that's what I really say, that if you've got especially a light colour, I would definitely put something behind it, and it has to be another light colour. Otherwise, if I put a dark colour, then you'll take away from the rice paper, because it will show through, because it is translucent. So the next job I've got is I'm just going to cover this all just a little bit. I don't want to cover it too much, because I don't mind if it's in different shades, because that again will make the design reflect in different ways. So I think it's just so nice. I don't want to go over the edges, because otherwise it will look like I've got a piece that I've actually just gone over and it's just sticking it down now. So now what you need to just think about is actually what do you want your next layer to look like. Now, so that's really important as well. So if you want to see how you want that to be. Now I'm actually going to crackle all of this because I actually like that effect. And it's nice and easy, it's easy to do, and it really does add. So let's have a quick look before I start to do any more to this. So can you see how beautiful that looks already? So it's absolutely lovely. So it's really nice. Now, there's several ways of doing this. You can actually add a little bit of colour. So you've got little bits of colour dotted around and then have the crackle showing through. So there are different ways of doing that. Or you can even put a little bit of colour into your crackle as well to change it. So let's start off first with what we need in terms of crackle. So in terms of crackle, there are two components. One is the crackle primer and one is the crackle paste. You always apply the crackle primer first, and in an ideal world, let it dry and then add the crackle paste to it. Then once that's, the crackle paste can either be dried, heat dried, which is brilliant, and this gives you a more smoother effect. If you want a peeled paint effect and a beautiful crackle effect, then let it dry naturally. But on the plate, I tend to go for a smooth effect because you're going to be using this plate and you want it to be absolutely beautiful. So that's where we are with that. So let's start on the next layer. So what I'm actually going to do is use one of these very special sponges. So just cut up one of your kitchen sponges, which is what I do mainly. And let's have a look at putting a slightly, I'm going to put a little bit of a slightly pink tinge down because I think I'd like the crackle to show, but I also want a little bit more of this to come through as well. So I'm just going to take it randomly around the plate. I don't want it to be too dark, I don't want it to cover everything, but I do want it just to blend in. So this is a pink I've chosen, which I think works quite well with this plate. So each time you're going to get a different effect. You're not 100% sure what you're going to end up with, and it's trial and error. And it's so it's such an inexpensive project. You obviously, what I would suggest is you choose some rice papers which have a similar colour palette, and then choose a set of 3 paints, and that way you can actually use those for all those different projects. So here we go. So we've got a little bit more here. So I don't want to put too much on because the whole idea is I still want to crackle through this. So what we're going to have on the other side now, I might put a little bit more onto this mat because I feel I haven't got as much on that side. Let's have a look. Go like that. So there we go. But I don't want it to be sort of splodges either. So it is about blending it a little bit. Well, maybe not too much, but a little bit. So now we should, on the other side, we'll see that we've got, oh, cut it this way. Let me hold that up for you a little bit better. So, we've got a little bit of splodge. It looks like a frosted effect, actually. So it's actually really pretty. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of green, actually, because I think the green and the pink will also add to it. So just take a little bit, not too much. And if you're always worried, just keep a baby wipe by you. That's what I tend to do. And then just take that in as well. And you might even, if you're somebody who likes it like this, you might even want to leave it like this. There's no rights and wrongs about this project. Again, you can finish this off how you want. It's your project. Try not to be too heavy-handed, because otherwise what you're going to get is you're going to get lots of splodges into. And don't worry about going over the rice paper. That's not a problem at all, because that's what you want as well. And I've got a little bit of that pink as well. I don't want to waste anything, so I'm going to take a little bit of combination and take that in as well, so that we've got a little bit of pink going on there as well, a little bit darker, a bit different. Right, now what we're going to do is, now we've cleaned all our sheet up, which is brilliant, which is important, is now you'll see that on the other side now what you've got is this beautiful sort of splodge of colour that's coming from actually the colours within the plate. So it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, even if you left it like that, it would be fine. But let's get to the next stage. So the next stage is give it a quick heat dry. There we go. So as long as it dries reasonably quick, the glass always heats up, so be careful with that you don't have your heat gun in one place. So now let's move on to the crackle. Now crackle is really easy to work with. All you do, very similar to the decoupage medium, take a clean brush, dip it into your primer and go over your plate, wherever you want that. Now I'm going to catch some of this onto, which is important to me, onto actually the rice paper, because what I don't want is, I don't want to have this too distinguished line. So just keep going over. And obviously make sure your paint is dry underneath, otherwise all you're going to do is just lift it all off by doing this. So there we go. So this is the primer. Now this is the primer that you apply for any surface you can apply this onto. And what this is doing is basically making a coat for where the crackle paste will go. So wherever the primer is, the crackle paste will go onto that and basically crack. So what we're going to do is, like I've said, I'm going to go in. So just make sure if you are wanting to do those edges, it doesn't matter which way you actually do your primer. You know, a lot of crackle pastes are, oh no, you must put it this way, you must put it this way. Not with this one. This is the most easiest, most satisfying to use, I have to say. I absolutely love it. I haven't yet failed to crack with it, but you know, there's always a first. Hopefully not today. So all I'm doing is just making sure I've got enough of the primer on, just to make sure that we've got a nice coverage. Here we go. So just the last bit over here in the corner, and you know, you don't need a lot. So you know, the primer is the least that you need. So I'm just going back in again and just making sure I haven't got too much on my brush and on my plate. So that should do me lovely, because we just want enough. Now again, put your brush in the water. Make sure you close all your lids, because things do dry out. And then all we're going to do is that boring thing where you go dry, dry, dry. So once this is dried, we're able to then start putting the primer onto it. Now there are lots of different finishes you can do after this. You can use oil paints, you can use waxes after you put the crackle down. There's lots of different effects that you can do. So all we're trying to do is quickly dry this so we can start to apply the primer. So it goes to like a translucent, so you shouldn't be able to see the milky whiteness, then you know it's actually dried. Don't get too close to it either, because obviously, if you've got time, let it dry naturally, because that would be really good. I have never had time, and I always want to rush everything, so my name is not patience, I can assure you. But I do find this very, very rewarding. And what will happen is you'll see the cracks through this. So it takes a little bit of time to dry, but once it's dried, you can start then applying the actual primer paste. And that's actually a paste, and we do that in a number of colours. So it's really nice. But the white works really well with the colours we've chosen today. So here we go. Nearly there. It will just be a translucent effect, it's nothing other than that. Just be careful because you are heating glass, it does get very hot. And there we go. So we're going to go on to this next bit, and let's put the crackle paste on. I don't know where the time goes. Mr. Griffin's just told me 30 minutes have gone. I'm going to be in trouble. So just I take a palette knife, got a little bit of a poke. There we go. And there we go. And all I'm doing is, the thinner you apply it, the thinner the cracks will be. The thicker you apply it, the thicker the cracks will be. So I don't need it too thick, I don't need them too big. You know, at the end of the day, it's a glass plate, and what you can do is It doesn't matter if you go over it. It doesn't. It's, you know, it is a big plate, so it is a big project. But do you know what? It's so rewarding when you're finished, and you will see the results, and you'll just think, oh, this is lovely, and this makes a lovely gift. I really love it. You know, and I know lots of you out there have already tried this technique. Lots of you have asked me to do the video, so you want to try this technique, and I know you're all hoarding rice papers. I know that. I have loads here, and I still hoard them, so I know the feeling. But you know what? The more you use, the more you can buy, and the more you can make other people enjoy what you've made for them. So, you know, these make lovely gifts, really nice to do with the kids. These are all water-based products, you know, really nice to even, you know, hen parties, birthday parties, you know, there's just so many. Crafting is so rewarding, and I know it brings a lot of happiness into a lot of our lives, especially those, you know, who spend a lot of time caring, you know, don't have a lot of time for themselves. This is one way, it's escaping, I can assure you. That's why I do it. And it's absolutely so rewarding. So let's see how we're getting on. So this won't look very nice from the back, so please don't be alarmed by that, thinking, oh my god, this is just what my plate's going to look like. But it's not. You can see it already cracking. You don't need to go over the rice paper because you won't see it through the rice paper. Right, drop that in some water, make sure you put your lid on, and there we go. Now, I don't know if you can see, but we'll see the cracks forming while we're here. And there it goes. And it's as quick as that. And it's just so rewarding. I don't know anything that I find as rewarding as I do crafting. And can you just see them? I don't know if you can see them, but they're absolutely beautiful. And you'll see these come through to the other side as well. And it's quick. And you will never ever tire of this effect. I don't think you will either. Once you're addicted to cracker paste. I'm really sorry. So it's probably one of the best cracker pastes I know of. Well, actually it's the best. It's just heat drying that. Doesn't matter if you get too close, it all adds to the effect. Just be careful if you've got a glass plate that you're working on and you don't know what temperature it's at, just to be careful of that. These are pretty heat proof. And, you know, I've got the heat gun quite close by because I want to get it dried. But it is absolutely a beautiful effect. So I hope you're enjoying this. I know it's a little bit tedious at times because you're watching me heat dry. But I really want you to be part of that journey. I really want you to see it from start to finish, because I think sometimes steps are missed out and people do want to see all the steps. Because they want to see how long it may take, then they want to see how it works. And when I make errors, I want to share those with you as well, because that's how you learn. There we go, I think that's more than enough drying. If you've got it somewhere thicker, it will stay wet longer, obviously. I can see I've got a bit of a ridge here. So, but don't worry, that's all in the effect. So, let's have a quick look and hope that it's coming out quite nice on the other side as well. And there you can see all the little cracks. So doesn't that look beautiful? Now we're going to try and fill some of those cracks in, so you can just see how lovely that looks. So let's try and fill some of those in. Now what I do to fill them in, I know we've already done over 30 minutes. So what I do is I use the Stamperia oils, and these are absolutely lovely. And what I do is I actually just take my finger and I just drop a bit on there, because don't worry about it and don't be too afraid of it, and then just take that in. And this isn't about creating the back, this is about me creating some more texture to the front of my plate. So what this is going to do is add a little bit more. And again, we've got so many colours in these. You could do a pink, you could do a brown, you could do an orange. You can do so many colours. I'm just taking it back off and then just going back in. And we're going to take a little a baby wipe anyway to take to this as well. So let's have a look, just show you where we've got to with that little bit there. Can you see that now? So that's just coming through, and you can just see it looks really sort of vintage. It just shows you just how much of an effect you can actually create by just adding a little bit of oil paint to the back of it. So what you would do is you need to take that all over the back of your plate. Don't worry about the fact that the rest of the plate looks different. That's not a problem. And then all we're doing is we're just taking this in, and just use your fingers. It's actually very, very therapeutic to do. This is an oil paint by Stamperia, and it works so well with all our crackles, and it really does add. What you do to the back of your plate is you can either cover it with a piece of felt, you could even cover it with paper, even another rice paper. But what I find I do is I take like a silver or a red or whatever colour you've got as your main. In this one I'd probably take a dark pink. What I would do first is take a white primer, and I would paint over this to give you that finished effect on the bottom. I'll show you the tray we did do earlier, just to show you how we finished that one off. And there's just so many ways you can finish it off. So here we go. We're nearly there. It takes a lot of, it seems like it's taking a lot of paint, but seriously the tube just goes on and on, and you can see that we're just creating this beautiful, beautiful effect. There we go. And I'm doing it quite quickly. You could take your time, but I quite like this sort of, the more you concentrate on things, I think sometimes you can overthink it, and I think that's what a lot of us crafters do. We overthink it, and then we think, oh, what should I do? What shouldn't I do? So all we're going to do now is just to take a baby wipe. Let's take a baby wipe. Not only to clean my fingers, but also to make sure that it's not too wet, your baby wipe. Just take that and just clean my finger a little bit and around me. It is oil, so do be careful you don't get it on your clothes, but it's not going to hurt you. So what I tend to do is I tend to take the paper I've got, just squeeze a little bit of the baby wipe out, and then just use that to rub back. Hold your plate in the middle and then rub back a little bit more into those grooves, because that will actually give you a little bit more, and that will also take off any excess that you have. And then what you're doing is you're just making sure it's all blended in around the edges. Don't worry about any of it. If you need to use another baby wipe, use another baby wipe, it's not a problem. And then you're just taking that. And again, you could create this effect the other way around on a canvas, using exactly the same techniques. There we go. So we get to that bit, and let's have a look at it now. So we should have a really beautiful sort of vintage finish there. And then what I would do, just to finish it all off, I would actually take probably a darker pink or even a green, and then bring all that back in together again. Or you could even take a brown. So if I just show you on one corner of how that could look. Let me take this pink. Let me take this pink here, sorry. And then we'll just show you on one corner what that could look like. So just take all your dab it, and this could be your coverage as well. So if you wanted to cover it, you could do, this is a technique, do 2 layers I would suggest, and start to cover that. And now you'll see what I mean. Just add it to my sponge a little bit more, and I'm not going to do all the back for you, I'm just going to show you this bit, and then that is one way of doing a glass plate, I suppose. Let me just show you that corner, because I think it's really good to see the difference that you see when you start to build those colours up. So you can see where it's starting to fill in the glass and where it's starting to do the different effect. And I'll just show you the underneath of the other one. And the other one I did on the other one, the underneath, is I painted it all red and then used the waxes to finish it off. And you can sand this back a little bit if you want a really smooth surface. So the cracker paste is lovely to sand back. So that gives you an idea. So that's where I've got to. And then I just remembered I forgot to use my borders. But hey, for another project. So that's where we are. So I'll just show you that very quickly. And what I'll do is I'll finish it off and I'll put you a picture up on the Facebook, Dali Art Market Facebook page. So please do take a look. And please do take a look at our website. It's www.daliartmarket.co.uk. So I hope you all follow me on YouTube and take a look at some of the videos we'll be doing shortly. Thank you. Bye.